May the 1st, 2015 is the year, and I just want to thank you so much for tuning in. You're on the Parker Mashant Show, and certainly, as always, your audioship is much appreciated. I hope everyone is having a great Friday. It's the start of the weekend. Woo-hoo. For all of those out there who don't know, this is definitely a day to just have a great time and enjoy yourself. On a more somber note, we'd like to actually mention the loss of someone who pretty much was a big part of the party scene in the actual 80s, and it is very sad to know that he is no longer with us. Johnny Kemp's big hit, Just Got Paid. It was a monster hit, really. A lot of people could relate to that. Unfortunately, has died under mysterious circumstances at the mere age of 55. Such a tremendous tragedy, and such a phenomenal person, and just a really, really sad time. And just we want to wish the best for the family and friends of Mr. Kemp, and hope that he has had a wonderful journey to the other world. But we know that he will be greatly missed, but he will be forever remembered. So thank you, Mr. Kemp, for all your contributions here in this world, and again, deepest condolences to the families and friends. Now, on another note, why you're here today, the topic today is Ray Rice and domestic abuse. As we know, domestic abuse is pretty rampant, not in just the black community, but globally as well as ethnically. You have a lot of people out there that are living within marriages, cohabitations, both within the heterosexual and homosexual community, where a person is being consistently and repeatedly battered and abused by the person that he or she trusts and loves the most. It is a very complicated scenario and a very difficult one for people to navigate. Ray Rice, of course, as we all know, former Baltimore Raven, NFL player, running back, was someone who definitely had the world at his feet until, of course, he and his then fiancée and now wife got into what was really one of the ugliest fights that has probably ever been caught on camera. Naturally, behind closed doors, things like this happen all the time, sadly. However, this was footage that was visible, and that made it that much more visceral for those who were privy to the video clip. Now, as we know, the story is dating back some months ago. However, it does seem to be one that will not go away. It is a scandal that continuously gets replayed. I'm focusing on it today just for a brief moment, not because of the fact that I want to vilify Rice or try to take anything away from his prowess on the football field. There's no question Rice is definitely an athlete who deserved to be in that 1 percentile that actually makes it to the pros. And since we did just get past the NFL draft, we know that this is probably uppermost in a lot of people's minds. Rice was supposed to have the kind of career that would end up being in the Hall of Fame, not on front pages with he and his wife splash across and on interviews on the Today Show talking about why the two of them got into a physical altercation. Of course, there's nothing nice about what happened between that couple, just as there isn't anything nice about domestic abuse on the whole. And even if a person is not as famous as Rice, it does not make it any less important a topic. And it's one that we do need to address frequently and often, as long as this scourge on society continues to persist. We cannot dispute the fact that domestic abuse is a very real reality for a lot of people. There are women now across the country and again internationally in shelters, fearing for their very lives, fleeing from the men. And yes, I want to say women, because there are men that are battered as well by their partners, domestic partners. husbands and wives, etc., because I'm speaking about not just the heterosexual community. It is absolutely very rampant in the homosexual community, particularly among men. A lot of battering goes on in those relationships. Naturally, it's not spoken about because a lot of times men don't want to take the chance for fear of looking weak. So basically, it goes underreported, those types of batterings. We're basically more familiar with the female side of the dynamic. Either way you look at this coin, in this picture, it is one that is not appealing. There's absolutely nothing more frightening than living with someone who is a predator and you fear for your very existence on a daily basis. You do not know what is going to set that person off. It could just be the fact that the coffee is a little too strong, the toast is a little too dark, or the eggs may have not been sunny side up. I mean, it seems like some kind of sick joke, but there's absolutely nothing humorous about this equation. There are people being killed on a daily basis by not strangers on the street, but by the very people whom they share their lives with in their homes. Or they have tried to escape, and then they've been stalked, and then they've been found, and they've been murdered. Or some people who are financially well off have even hired killers to make sure that this person who is no longer even in their lives is not allowed to survive because he or she found the courage to leave. And yes, it takes a lot of courage to walk away from a relationship that has become a living nightmare, one that is volatile, where you have no idea what is going to happen next. It's like living with a powder keg of dynamite that is just going to explode in any particular second. You just never know. So for the women and the men who are in these relationships and trying to get out, we definitely just want to say we hope that you will find the courage, that you'll find the opportunity, take it when it comes, and run. But please do not leave an emotional outburst at a time of an attack. You have to be methodical, you have to think it through, and you have to have a plan. Above all, Dr. Phil covered this topic. He has covered it many times. His wife is a very serious supporter of women who are abused domestically. She is definitely a person who deserves recognition for the work that she does within that arena. There are so many women, and also again, I like to add men. I think it's unfair that sometimes we forget that there are men out there who are just as battered and abused emotionally and physically too. Because any type of abuse is wrong, whether it is physical or verbal. They all hurt, and yes, words do hurt. We were taught, maybe some of us growing up as children, that sticks and stones break my bones, or words can never hurt me. That is absolutely a travesty. Words hurt. They remain in your heart and your soul long after the physical scars are gone. So therefore, yes, speaking to someone and calling them horrible names and talking to them as if they do not have a heart is absolutely unconscionable, and it's certainly unacceptable. Therefore, if you are someone, a man or a woman, who is trapped in a relationship where you are no longer feeling the love and that you're being hurt on a regular basis, and it doesn't matter what you try to do to prevent that person from quote-unquote losing it, this is your time to take that opportunity when it comes and to make certain that you recognize the fact you deserve better and to get out. And if you are one of those people, I do want to go ahead and leave you with the National Abuse Hotline, the number that you'll need to call. And for anyone who is out there right now in a situation where he or she, maybe you've just been attacked. Maybe there were just some horrible things that were said. Maybe you were told that if you come home late again, you're not going to be able to get in. Maybe somebody took your keys. Maybe they locked you in a room before they left for the day. Maybe you were threatened because you were suspected of cheating. Or maybe they saw you looking at another person across the room, and so they just hauled up and smacked you. Whatever the scenario, all of those are definitely not situations that should be allowed to continue. So when you can find the strength within your soul and within your heart, please go ahead and reach out to the National Domestic Abuse Hotline. The phone number it's a 24/7 number. It is toll free. It is confidential. You contact them. You may even have to use an alias if you're that fearful that someone is threatening your life, literally, and not figuratively. They've actually said the words, "I'm going to kill you." There's absolutely nothing more serious than that, and absolutely deserves to be taken quite seriously. Do not hesitate to pick up the phone and call this number. It may absolutely save your life. And if you're not really certain of what abuse is, then I want to tell you, abuse is any time you feel uncomfortable with something someone has done to you, whether they have been verbal, mental, or verbally abusive to you, or emotionally. And of course, physical is the one people point to most frequently, because they do realize that that is absolutely a no-no when anyone puts his or her hands on another person with the intent to harm. That it is absolutely not something anyone should tolerate, no matter what. I am going to go ahead and get that number for you. I certainly hope that if you are in this situation, that you have the courage to get out. And if you do not feel like you can get out, to turn to someone that you know, someone that you love, someone who you can trust to safeguard your secrets, somebody who can give you the strength that you need to leave that situation. Because there's an entire psychosis that comes into play when someone has been abused. And maybe you're not a famous person, but it doesn't make your scars and your wounds and your hurts any less important. As we know, domestic abuse does not discriminate. It is across socioeconomic, gender, and sexual orientation lines. It is an equal opportunity offender. Therefore, it is absolutely something that deserves our attention. First and foremost, there should be a day that we can recognize these victims and people who are no longer victims because they were blessed enough and fortunate enough to find the faith and find the strength to actually come out and to escape. But we know that there are people that sadly will never ever be brave enough to walk away. The saddest thing of all is that the statistical data supporting domestic abuse and those lives that in those relationships, those toxic, dysfunctional relationships, is extremely high. It is definitely not something which we can afford to turn a blind eye. We need to come out of our own comfort zones, reach out to a person. If you know someone, maybe it's not you, maybe you're fortunate, maybe you have found someone who values you and respects you and honors you and always treats you with all the love that every human being deserves. So this is not your story, but it's the story of someone you know, someone you love, maybe just someone you may have come into contact with, or you come into contact with on a regular basis. Maybe it's a coworker even. Please don't turn away from that person. If they just want to talk, listen. Sometimes that can give a person all the strength that they need and courage to make that move, to have a plan in place that they can leave safely. The most dangerous time to leave is when an attack is absolutely happening and it's ongoing. So one has to really be very stilty when they decide to leave the situation. Pack your bag, hide your bag, don't let anyone know where you're going, particularly if this person is someone that has been in your life for a long time, they know all the places. They know where your mother lives. They know where your cousin lives. They know your family. They know your friends. You will have to break those ties, even if it's just for a temporary time, for it is critical that you get to a safe place. A good place to start would be by calling the domestic abuse hotline. That number is 1-800-799-7233. Let me repeat that number again. It's 1-800-799-7233. I certainly do want to wish all of you well, whether you are in an abusive relationship or you're not in one, or you're at the start of something that seems quite wonderful. Do not miss the signs. Whenever anyone mistreats you at any level, it is abuse. It is something that you cannot afford to deny, turn a blind eye. It has cost far too many lives. So I just want to thank you for listening. I hope that this show will reach someone out there who is in need, who needs support, who needs to find the strength to leave the situation, and that they will make that call. Or if you are someone who again knows a person who you feel is out there suffering and is alone, that you will take the time to give that someone your support, the shoulder, and that you will listen to his or her cries of anguish and cries for help. It takes a lot of courage to come away from something like that, because a lot of times women and men get caught in these relationships that they desperately want to work. They are afraid to leave, sometimes because their lives have been threatened literally, and therefore they are almost paralyzed with fear for the fact that they don't really know where to turn, and they just feel so alone. Remember this thing, unfortunately you're not alone. There are so many women and men that are living in domestic abusive situations, relationships, cohabitations, marriages, and they just are there in the world crying out in pain and looking for someone to listen and to help give them the strength that they need to walk away. If you don't do anything else in your life ever of any meaning, which I seriously doubt, there's so many opportunities to give, and when you give you also receive, because you receive the joy that you receive from being a support system for someone in need. So this has been Ellen Love and the Park and Mashant Show. I just want to thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that I reached someone today. I really hope that I have made a difference and have been able to give someone the tools that he or she needs to walk, to make that start towards getting out and getting free from these chains that are wrapped around you, these chains of pain, I like to call them. Because the truth is, you cannot live a life of freedom and happiness when you are being abused, whether it is every day, or maybe he just does it or she just does it when he or she has had a bad day. The fact is, living like that, walking on eggshells, not knowing what to say, how to act, what to do, it's all a pattern of being abused. That is not the life that God intended for any one of us on this planet. And I sincerely hope that if you have the chance to help someone, that you will come out of your comfort zone and you will reach out and lend a lifeline to that person who is struggling to survive, so that one day they can be free from the chains of pain, walk away from the bondage that is claiming their life on this day, and be free to really thrive and live a life that they were meant to and achieve abundantly. This has been Ellen Love. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do hope that all of you will stay safe, that you will live your lives like today is the last day, because as we all know, tomorrow is not promised. So take care of the ones that you love, tell them often, and always remember that every second is a gift, and we all need to cherish the gift that life truly is for everyone who is able to get up and see another sunrise or see the sun go down at night. Take care, and I hope you all have a great weekend.